Mr. Dalmia, Mr. Agarwal, Mr. Sanyal, Excellencies, former presidents of the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, members of the Managing Committee, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to interact with so many friends who I see before me at this very important 117th annual meet that PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry is, I would say, celebrating today. You've had very illustrious speakers before me and have set the tone for discussions amongst like-minded friends to see where India will be in the Amrit Kal going forward to the 100th year of independence in 2047, and how a strong, resilient, self-confident, self-reliant India can play an important role in our ambition to become a developed country by 2047. Pradeepji, at the outset, I'd like to compliment you for your leadership of the PhD Chamber through the presidency. You've really done some wonderful work in the midst of challenges. COVID period has given us a lot of opportunities to interact, many times on video conferencing. And I've always found in you a very sensitive person, willing to engage, willing to think out of the box, and giving good leadership to your organization. I wish you well, and I would only request that you continue to be engaged with the members and with the affairs of the chamber, just as I would urge all the other presidents, past presidents, that while we do a lot of work while we are presidents, very often post-presidency, we tend to neglect our organizations and believe that it's the duty of the next guy. Saket dekh lega, ab hamari zimmedari nahi. And that has been the pain of several very well-meaning, very prominent associations whose leadership over a period of time has stopped taking interest in their affairs. And I suspect gradually they are getting relegated, something which I would not like to happen with PhD Chamber, because I believe you are one chamber. While you may have started as Punjab, Haryana, Delhi Chamber, today you have a pretty much a national outlook. You have a very large role to play when it comes to nation building, when it comes to the affairs of business, industry, government, and the interface between government and businesses. And we have almost looked upon you as a national chamber in all our engagement, in all our appointments, in all the various committees where we take different representatives of industry. And therefore, while that's not what you called me here to hear, but I do believe it will be nice if all of you can, all the ex-presidents that I see seated around me in the front row, can play a significant role in continuing to strengthen this organization, giving it leadership, and grooming the young leaders like Saket and others after him who will take over. And I'm glad that the young blood is coming in a bigger way. They're coming in with leadership roles. Saket, I wish you well. As you may be aware, and many in this room are, our doors are always open. We wish to engage as much as industry is willing. I recall in the midst of COVID, there was a stage when I had to back off from the VCs because I thought probably I'm doing too many engagements with EPCs and industry associations. And I got the impression that there was a fatigue setting in amongst you, not me. But I believe I've learned a lot in these engagements. I've been able to get a true sense of where business wants the government's support, what kind of a facilitative role we can play. And I do hope that your chamber and the government will continue to engage with a great degree of positivity and an outlook for the future, which is truly one taking India to much, much higher levels of prosperity, making India a developed nation, making India a high-income company in the years to come. And that cannot happen without the active contribution of each one of you with a sense of duty as articulated by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 15th August, when we were celebrating 75 years of independence and also preparing the nation for the next 25 years of Amrit Kal. The 5 commitments, the 5 vows that in a way he asked each one of us to take can be a guiding principle, can be a force multiplier for each one of us. And I do believe some of the thoughts that he articulated, whether they relate to our ambitions to become a developed country, whether they relate to the unity and integrity and the oneness that this nation needs to demonstrate to the world, whether it relates to our effort to get out of the colonial mindset that sadly has held us back over the years in many different ways, including some of the systems that were left behind by the British 75 years ago, which continue to, I don't know if it's a good word to use, but haunt us and continue to bother businesses from flourishing, continue to hold back entrepreneurship, hold back the true potential of many of our young boys and girls. I think it's very important that we all engage collectively with a sense of duty, as mentioned by the Honorable Prime Minister, and work to remove even the slightest trace of the old mindset of the old colonial history that we have inherited, and work collectively towards a bright future for our nation. And I would urge industry participants, industry leaders to take this message across the country to all your members, to all your stakeholders, because what we are trying to create, the new India that each one of us wants to see, is only possible when we get out of the old thinking, get out of the old dichotomies that we have faced for many years, and be bold in our outlook for the future. In fact, very recently I was reading Mr. Deepak Parikh's comment, and I'm sure all of us are very familiar with him and respect him as one of the tallest leaders of Indian industry, banking. And if I may quote what he said, in my 50 years of working, I have never been as optimistic about the future of our country as I am today, unquote. I think that is the optimism, that is the confidence which we in business need to imbibe, which we need to pass on to the youngsters in this room and our next generation, our inheritors of the rich legacy that India carries. We've seen a number of structural reforms, transformative steps being taken in the last few years. We've looked at a very holistic, broad-based, consensus-based development model across sectors, across businesses, across the country. It is not for no ordinary reason that only yesterday India achieved one more milestone when we were ranked 40th in the Global Innovation Index by the World Intellectual Property Organization. And mind you, only 7 years back in 2015, soon after we had inherited government, I would not say inherited when with your blessings and your support, the support of the people of India, we were given an opportunity to serve the nation. Because at least in our party, there's no inheritance. You have to work your way through. You don't get a position just because of a surname or because of a family legacy. But truly, from a 81st position in 2015 to the 40th rank in 2022, it's been a wonderful journey, a journey which would not have been possible but for the partnership between all of you and the government. It would not have been possible without your very candid feedback that we keep receiving from time to time, without the significant engagement and support that we receive from business leaders. And it is this partnership that will define the future of India. Whether it's Digital India, whether it's Startup India and Stand Up India, whether it's our effort to provide for the basic needs of every individual, every citizen in this country, be it shelter through our Housing for All scheme, whether it's the food security program, both the National Food Security Program and the Prime Minister's Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, which almost doubles down the food grain eligibility for the poor to help them tide over the challenging times that we have lived through in the last 2.5 years. What with the worst pandemic the world has ever seen hitting us in February, March 2020. And as we were almost getting out of it, the world literally getting into a catastrophic situation in terms of conflict in our very near neighborhood, leading to an economic recession across the world, leading to inflation, leading to disturbances in the financial architecture of the world, many of which India has been able to relatively still continue to be a bright star or a shining star in the world. We continue to be one of the fastest growing large economies. We continue to have reined in our inflation numbers pretty significantly low compared to the rest of the world. Yesterday, I was told Germany has reached 11%. A nation which was usually at 1.5% is at 11% with gas shortages, with serious consequences on their financial systems. Whereas we in India, who almost till 2014 would look at a double-digit inflation as if it was a given, and were used to grappling with 8, 9, 10% as a norm, are even today at only 7% inflation compared to the rest of the world. We have focused very significantly on ease of doing business, as you alluded to, even though the rankings, the world rankings have been aborted thanks to our neighbors' actions. But we continue to relentlessly pursue that agenda in the government. So we continue to do our state rankings. We continue to look at our internal processes. We are very focused on decriminalizing sections of law which have been harassing businesses. We do not believe that businesses should be working under any pressure, but should be allowed to flourish and work with the confidence of a collaborative government-business interface. And we continue to work towards reducing the compliance burden on our businesses. I would urge the chamber and all of you distinguished ladies and gentlemen to please give us feedback and literally give it to us quickly, because in the winter session, we are proposing to come out with a very holistic amendment to the laws related to businesses to try and ease the burden, reduce compliances. We've already done about 30,000 actions across the country to either eliminate or reduce the compliance burden on business. We wish to do much more. We have already decriminalized several laws like the Companies Act, many sections of the Companies Act. Similarly, we are working on many other laws currently. And the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade under me is spearheading this in consultation with other ministries. I would urge business and chambers to kindly give us a feedback where you would like us to further reduce the compliances, where you would like us to decriminalize any sections which are being misused or which are not truly necessary, which can be converted to a fine or some other action. I wish you would all participate in our efforts so that we can contribute to making businesses and your life easier, your businesses more at peace in terms of focus on business rather than defocus through compliance burden. We have launched the Pradhan Mantri Gati Shakti National Master Plan. It's an infrastructure marvel, if I may venture to say so. I don't know how many of you have really been able to understand what PM Gati Shakti is. I can spend some time to explain it, but I know you have other speakers after me. But I would urge you to invite our team from PM Gati Shakti National Infrastructure Master Plan to come and present to all your members, probably on a hybrid mode so that people across the country who are associated with PhD chamber can also benefit from an understanding of how this government is leveraging technology to create world-class quality infrastructure within stipulated costs, within defined timelines, without cost overrun, so that we can serve the people of India, put effectively good use to the money that each one of you pays in taxes or any of the other collections that the government has, and how we see the infrastructure story providing huge opportunities for all of you in your chosen businesses. We have also introduced the production-linked incentive, which I hope is helping Indian manufacturing come of age, expand capacities, become global in terms of scale and size, and get the advantages, the competitive edge that will help us compete with the rest of the world. We now have a national single window system in which we are trying to bring all central ministries, state governments, and at the next stage also local bodies, so that going into one website or one portal, you are able to get all your approvals without any physical interface. I believe 32 central ministries and over 18 or 20 states are already onboarded. We've given more than 18,000 approvals already under the national single window system. 18,000 have been given, but it's still very low. It's still in beta stage of testing. I haven't opened it up to the public or for day-to-day routines because I'm still looking for all of you to start engaging with that, to start trying to get your approvals on the national single window. Because your feedback, if you find any difficulty, any complication, you need the systems to be better, faster, simpler. I need that feedback. If there are certain approvals which are not on the system, but you are required to take it, I need you to tell me that so I can get my teams to focus on those approvals. And our effort is that ultimately we have a genuine single window to serve business, and you're not required to go to umpteen number of offices for all your approvals. And I also don't want this to become a single window which opens to many doors behind the window. I want it to really be an ease of doing business support service to you. So please look at the national single window and see how that can help serve you better. We have the ONDC initiative, which is also in beta testing. From tomorrow, we open it up to the public in Bangalore as a part of our beta test. We are trying to democratize e-commerce activities in the country. And I do believe that if PhD Chamber was to organize an engagement where people who are interested in e-commerce, who are interested in digital commerce, can understand the open network for digital commerce and the intention behind it, and help our young startups, our young entrepreneurs, particularly those in remote areas, help the small mom and pop stores, the small corner stores also get digitized, get the benefit of e-commerce. I think it can be a great service to our small storekeepers, retail stores, as well as provide huge business opportunities for young startups wanting to engage in this field. There are many areas you mentioned about exports. We have a $2 trillion export target by 2030, $1 trillion in services, $1 trillion in goods, which will mean that services will have to grow at about 19% CAGR for the next 8 years. Goods will have to grow at about 12% CAGR for the next 8 years. And we can look at a $2 trillion by 2030, which will be a landmark achievement. And I would urge the support of industry in our efforts to reach that level. In fact, I've just come in after a meeting I've held this morning with the negotiators who are currently in my office, engaged with the Indo-Canada Free Trade Agreement negotiations. Yesterday, I had a call with my Canadian counterpart. And last week, I met with her in Bali and did one round of FTA negotiations in Bali, in a third country. I'm only sharing this with you to tell you we mean business for the business in India. And all these efforts are to open new opportunities for all of you, to open new markets for all of you, to help you get better market access, to help you get that competitive edge in the developed world. We have FTAs with many countries in the past, but today we are working with the developed countries, Australia, UAE, UK, EU, Canada, the GCC group of companies, Switzerland, all the rich countries of the world, the highly developed countries. They all want to work with India. While of course we have talent, we have manpower, we have skills, we have a huge market opportunity. We also need to provide jobs and work opportunities for our teeming millions. And I think these markets with high imports, with high consumption levels, with high ability to consume the goods and services that all of you produce or provide, I think these are the markets of the future that we want to open up for you. But as you are aware, free trade agreements are win-win for both sides. We have to have equitable, fair and balanced outcomes. And therefore, I would urge industry to get out of that protectionist mindset. You did mention, Multaniji, about protecting Indian industry. I think you need protection from countries which work in a non-transparent manner. I can understand. And that's why we walked out of RCEP when we realized that it was almost like an FTA with China. And of course, that was on the call of industry. Almost everybody in this room, whoever must have engaged with me during my extensive stakeholder consultation, did not want the government to do RCEP. I don't know why it was started in the first place in 2012, because that meant opening up our doors to an influx of goods coming in from a non-transparent economy, where we don't know where the hidden subsidies lie, how they do their costing or economics. But certainly with the European countries, with UK, with Canada, with Australia, with Switzerland, I think we will have more business opportunities. They are rules-based, transparent economies, and their labor costs and their cost of operation is so high that if any of our businesses can't compete even with them, then we have a serious crisis in our hand. We will have to reflect on our capabilities and competitiveness. We will have to relook at our business processes. Because ultimately, you must bear in mind, there's 130, 140 crore consumers also. Those consumers don't want to go back to the age of Fiat cars and ambassador cars, which I think none of you in this room must be using today. You want modern equipment. You want modern technologies in your life. So while you want protection for your business, keep in mind, you are also a consumer of goods and services. It can't be that your goods and services get market access and get concessions in other economies. But you want protection so that nobody can come and compete. I think the nation today is a nation of confidence. We want to engage with the world from a position of strength. We are no more a weak nation. That's there for the colonial mindset, which Prime Minister Modi said we should erase. Let's go forward. Let's go into the Amrit Kal with full confidence in our abilities, in our nation, in our youth power. Let's go with the confidence that we can compete with the best in the world, because India cannot be second best anymore. And with that confidence and with that commitment, let's all of us engage with the world with your active participation, with your efforts, with our collective work, and with duty at the back of our mind, a sense of duty, a sense of our own contribution to make India really become a Vishwaguru, an internationally strong player, a $50 trillion economy. Because you may wonder, I keep upping my hand. But every time I meet all of you, I think my 30 trillion target in the next 25 years was very, very low ambition. But even on a simple maths, very, very simple business as usual scenario. Suppose I do nothing. Suppose the chambers do nothing. You also just do business as usual. Our country will be a $32 trillion economy in 2047 when we become 100 years as a free nation, as an independent nation. But with the collective effort of all of us, with the kind of leadership Prime Minister Modi is giving to this nation, with the kind of contribution businesses are doing, with the abilities of our youth in this room and across the country, I think we need to be much, much more aspirational, much, much more self-confident. And with that confidence, I'm sure PhD Chamber will continue to provide leadership in this post-pandemic world so that we can power ahead and the India growth story will be second to none in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shri Piyush Goyal ji, for that very, very interesting speech there, and especially for acknowledging PHDCCI as a leading national chamber. It's really a proud moment for everyone associated with PHDCCI. And you also spoke of how the world is reeling under serious recession, but India is on a path of progress, and India is now engaging with the rest of the world from a position of strength. You also outlined, yes.
I think we need to give a standing ovation to all our colleagues who are keeping us safe, who are keeping our borders secure at great risk to their lives.
Thank you. Not a problem. Thank you so much. Thanks for reminding us for that. And yes, our standing ovation to all of you. And thank you for being here today. And on that note, I would also now request Shri Saket Dalmia, Senior Vice President, PHDCCI, for his vote of thanks.
Shri Piyush Goyal ji,